Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. And in today's episode, we're talking about the Philadelphia Phillies clinching Red October for the third straight year, postseason back in Philadelphia. We'll break it down on today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for checking us out today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me for some of my other work in the sports talk radio space. I've been on 97.5 The Fanatic for 5 years now doing radio here in Philly, 3 years as a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member, and this is my third year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that stuff that helps you out, get notifications when new episodes are posted, but also helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. It's the number one way to say thank you if you like the content. It's the number one way to support. So appreciate everyone who's done that and everyone who's going to do that. Today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. Just go to the App Store. So the Philadelphia Phillies, well, they're going to be booking a trip to the postseason. They are finishing up their series against the Mets later this evening. They have a chance to win the NL East. We're going to talk about the clinch of Red October first, but then we're also going to talk about seeding and the division and all of that. So a lot of stuff to get into when it comes to the postseason setting on today's episode. But I want to start by this, right? The Mets series, it hasn't been the best series in the world. They haven't gone out and absolutely throttled the Mets up in New York. They've actually lost 2 of the first 3 games, and they have a chance to split the series tonight with Zach Wheeler on the mound. So a good setup to split, and that's all we were asking them to do coming into this because we knew a split would put them in the division title seat. They will win the NL East with a win this evening on Sunday Night Baseball. A great setting for a great opportunity for the Phillies, but it's not really about the visual at this point. Honestly, they can take care of that in the series against the Chicago Cubs coming up, the series against the Washington Nationals to round out the year, or they've taken care of, in some people's opinion, maybe not mine, I'm still trying to come to terms with it, but in some people's opinion, they've already taken care of what they've needed to show you as far as the ceiling of this team. We know they're a great baseball team. We know they have a chance at the number 1 seed, not just in the National League, but the top record in all of baseball. So how much more could you honestly ask for? The first step on the actual journey, though, is to lock up a postseason berth. And it took them longer than we wanted them to. But bottom line is Red October is back in Philadelphia. And I want you to think about this for a second. First, shout out to the way that they did it, coming back from down 2-0 with Christopher Sanchez on the mound to have a rout victory over the Mets on Friday night. That was great to see them fight through that. Sanchez settle in. But we know the ceiling of this team, right? I'm not totally settled on I've seen everything I need to see from the Phillies because I think that they have more to accomplish in the regular season once the division title is locked down. I don't think they're comfortable with playing in the wild card round, and they shouldn't be. But I think that we've seen enough to know the ceiling of this team. I've known it for a while, personally. At least in my opinion, I think that this team is as good as anybody in baseball. They're as primed for a postseason run as anybody in baseball. They have as much experience as any of the great teams in baseball. They are going to be ready for October. I have no doubt in my mind. So that's the first thing. That's what you want to learn first and foremost. And the past couple of years give you some data points on what they can be when the lights are brightest. The Phillies show up. You have to believe in that until you're proven wrong. And I know they haven't hoisted a World Series trophy. I know last year, the Diamondback series in the NLCS, I get it. I remember. I watched all those games. I haven't forgotten, even if I'd like to forget a little bit. But bottom line is, I know that this team, when they're at their best, are as good or better than any other team in baseball. And that's all you can really ask for, right? We've talked previously on this podcast about a great story from Todd Zalecki of MLB.com, talking to Dave Dombrowski earlier on in the season when the Phillies were going through their slump. And it mentioned a conversation between Dombrowski and Pat Gillick. Pat Gillick, former GM of the Philadelphia Phillies, who was in charge of that 2008 World Series winning team. And Pat Gillick talked about the luck it takes to win in October. Absolutely the case. Baseball's weird. And even with the expanded playoffs, it's become weirder. We've seen 6 seeds go to the World Series 2 years in a row since the playoffs expanded. One of those your own Philadelphia Phillies, and one of those knocking off the Philadelphia Phillies. So of all the cities, Philadelphia should understand that getting in gives you a chance. And everything outside of that, well, it might set you in better position, but you have to take care of business in October. So the Phillies, the best they could do, right? Well, I don't want to say the best they can do, because being the 1 seed, being the 2 seed, being one of those top seeds, getting the bye, getting home field advantage in the second round. If you're the top seed, getting advantage in the NLCS. If you get there, if you're the best record in baseball, getting home field advantage in the World Series. That's all important. But at the end of the day, I'll tell you this. This is an undeniable fact. Nobody can refute this, and that's different than a lot of things I say here on this podcast. But this is not opinion. If you do not make your way into the postseason, you do not have a shot at winning the World Series. That's just flat out the exact case. So what that means is the Philadelphia Phillies have given themselves a chance. I just want to talk about Red October for a second. Like, not so much the series against the Mets or how they've gotten here, but just what this means. Because I think we've gotten to a place, and we're lucky to have gotten here. I think we've gotten to a place with the Philadelphia Phillies where we almost take this for granted over the past couple of years. But think back to how you felt in 2018, 19, 20, 21, before this team became what they are now, before this team found their way back to the postseason, before this team ended a 10-year Red October drought. Playoffs were a foreign concept here in Philadelphia. It was oh, well, we're going to get close and then we're going to collapse at the end of the regular season and not make it type of situation. And now, well, you expect them to do that because the bar is set so much higher. But think about the decade the Philadelphia Phillies spent between 2022 and 2012, where they did not make the postseason. In 2012, you know what I was doing? I'm turning 30 in 2 weeks. I was graduating high school in 2012. A lot of stuff has gone on in that time frame, right? And that was a whole long stretch without playoff baseball here in Philadelphia. And those were some dark days of Phillies baseball. And now I don't want to take this for granted. I don't want to act like making the postseason as a consolation prize. It's not the ultimate goal, but to be able to accomplish it 3 years in a row and to be able to say that you punched your ticket to another Red October. I mean, look at the Atlanta Braves. The Braves have been a juggernaut team in the NL East for what feels like ever. But this year, injuries happen. Some poor play happens at points, and they're fighting to even find their way in. They're begging for the Phillies to beat the Mets tonight because they need life when they play the Mets coming up to find their way even into the dance. And frankly, I kind of hope they don't, because the more the Braves lose, the more Phillies fans are happy. That does mean the Mets get it. It's a double-edged sword. Bottom line is this. That team ahead of this season, they were penciled in for 100 wins and a division title and one of the top 2 seeds in the National League. And the next thing you know, they're fighting for air to find their way into the postseason. Anytime that you start a baseball season, there's a lot of stuff up in the air, no matter how talented your team is. And the Phillies have gone through a lot. They went through a stretch to start the season where they were unbelievable, and we were talking about them as one of the best teams in franchise history. And then they went through a couple-month stretch where they couldn't find a way to win baseball games, and they were just absolutely abysmal and one of the worst teams in baseball for a stretch, and everyone lost their minds. And it's a tough season. It's a marathon. It's not like the NFL, which is going on currently, NFL Sunday. If you're watching, you see me in my Eagles jersey. Good win by the Birds today. It's not the NFL where you win 10 games and you're in, or 11 games and you're in the postseason. That's what you need to accomplish. No, you got to play 162, and you've got to win around 90 of them to find your way to the postseason. A little bit less this year because there aren't really that top tier group of teams in baseball this season. But bottom line is, no matter how talented you are, no matter what you've accomplished before, making it to the postseason is an accomplishment worth celebrating. And the Philadelphia Phillies were able to do that. And that's an awesome thing to see. It is. Like, I'm not the type of person to take consolation prizes or little accomplishments and just brush them off. There have been too many times in our sports fandom lives here in Philadelphia where we've had seasons that were completely wasted, that were listless, that ended with nothing besides we might have seen a good game here or there. And that's all teams. I'm not just talking about the Phillies. So when I see something that is an accomplishment by a team over the course of a season, I'm going to celebrate the heck out of it. You might think that's silly. You might think this isn't a big deal making it into the postseason. I'm here to tell you it absolutely is. So credit to the Phillies, what they've endured, injuries they've played through, bad stretches that they've struggled through, slumps they've overcame, games they've won, games they've lost and came back from. That's a tough thing for baseball teams to do. And at the end of the day, even with the expanded postseason, 12 teams make it. You're one of the top 12 teams in baseball. The Phillies, they have their sights set higher than that. But to get to that point is something worth celebrating, even if it's a golf clap. And you know what? Having Red October back, that's worthy of a golf clap. Winning the NL East for the first time in 13 years, that's worth even more than a golf clap. And seeding, well, that's a much bigger question because there's still work to be done. But credit to the Phillies. They're back in the postseason. Everyone should be elated by that. And they have a chance to go in the division tonight. But let's say they do. What does the seeding struggle look like going forward? We'll discuss that coming up as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. I want to tell you about something great, though, because maybe you need a vacation. Maybe that stretch, if the Phillies get the 1 seed or 2 seed and you have a week off and you want to take a trip somewhere in between the end of the regular season and the start of the divisional series, hopefully the Phillies are giving you time for that. But the place to go is Booking.com. I mean, you can explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about, like your rival cities. And the NL East, wow, a lot of great rival cities. New York, Atlanta, Miami, Washington, something for everybody in there, or any city. You can do it with Booking.com because, I mean, if you want to taste test your baseball competition, stadium cuisine, or you want to check out their city in general and just wander around, Booking.com can help you find the right way to do it. The right stay can make you a fan of really any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. With Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Go ahead and check them out. They're the absolute best, and they deliver exactly the right stay for you. So go ahead and download the app, check them out online. They have a bunch of great deals. You can go ahead and, if you're going to book a trip, there's no better place to do it than Booking.com. Again, I'll say it one more time because I just love their new slogan. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. I also want to tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook is the best, America's #1 sportsbook. And you might get a hunch in the middle of the game, right? You might be watching something. At the start of the game, you might be like me. I've been terrible betting this year. I got to be honest with you. And I like to think I know sports a little bit. It's what I do for a living. Sometimes before the game's tough. But during the game, I see something happen. And I'm like, wow, this team looks dead in the water. Or, wow, this team has a lot of momentum. When you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You're going to go ahead and, on top of that, get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet with FanDuel. I mean, that's a great option. There's a lot of great stuff to be wagering on right now with football season ongoing, baseball playoffs around the corner, hockey starting soon, basketball starting soon. So much stuff going on. You got to go check them out. America's #1 sportsbook. Find a way to not just enjoy the win because your team won, enjoy the win because you won. FanDuel.com. Check them out. They are America's #1 sportsbook. All right, let's have the seeding conversation again. Now, while we look at the standings, where the Philadelphia Phillies are at, let's take a peek at where everyone around baseball is and get an idea of what could be happening when it comes to where they end up and how they handle everything. Now, they are 92-63 as we record this episode middle of the day on Sunday, which has them tied for the best record in baseball with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Something important to remember, the Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies, well, the Phillies have the tiebreaker because of their matchup in the regular season against LA. So if they finish with the same record, Phillies are the 1 seed. The Yankees are a game back, something to keep an eye on if you're worried about home field advantage in the World Series. We know that can make a difference. That's something important. We've got an interesting new contender here. Now, they won't be able to take and this is a fun little nuance of the standings, they won't be able to take one of the top 2 seeds away from the Phillies because that goes to the top divisional champions. But the Padres have jumped the Brewers by a half game. They're only 3 games back of the Phillies. They have the fourth best record in all of baseball, third best outside of teams. Or teams outside of the Philadelphia Phillies. I guess technically they're tied with the Cleveland Guardians, but the Padres are making a little bit of noise. They can't do it, though, because the Dodgers are going to be ahead of them. Or even if they catch the Dodgers, one of those teams will be a wild card team. That's a shame. We saw that happen 2 years ago in the NL East, where both the Mets and the Braves cleared 100 games or won at least 100 games, and one of them had to play in the wild card series. The bigger thing is the Brewers are 3.5 games back of the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Phillies have the tiebreaker. So let's call that 4.5 games. They should be able to lock up the division in the next day or so. Hopefully tonight with Zach Wheeler on the mound, right? But that's something we're going to talk about in the final segment of this episode, by the way. But you can lock up a top 2 seed sometime in the next 4 or 5 days. You got a series against the Cubs coming up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which we're going to preview on tomorrow's episode. You could put yourself, depending on what Milwaukee does, and Milwaukee has the Pirates for 3, so maybe you'll get some help from your crosstown rivals in Pittsburgh, but I would count on the Phillies having to take care of business themselves. Once you lock up one of those top 2 seeds, here's the way I'm looking at it, right? Because my question in this segment is what should be the goal for seeding for the Philadelphia Phillies? One of the top 2 seeds. Anything outside of that, right? I would love for them to be the top seed. To me, the difference between the 2 seed and the 1 seed, marginal, right? I look at that and I say, oh, okay, yeah, NLCS, if you match up against the Dodgers, having to go to LA for the first couple games, that would be annoying. But if you get there, it means you've been playing pretty darn good baseball, or you won a series in the NLDS, and then it's going to be a tough series anyway. They have this guy, Shohei Ohtani, who's pretty darn good. They have a couple other guys on that team that are pretty darn good players. The Dodgers are stacked. Home field advantage would help, but do you want to put yourself at risk of maybe injury, at risk of tiring guys out? And would you want to fight through the final couple games of the regular season when you can make sure everybody's well rested and ready to go for the NLDS and the long October run? I would prefer them to be cautious once they lock down one of the top 2 seeds. You don't want to go into the wild card series because you don't want a chance that you play 2 bad games and you're going home and this whole season was for naught. No, that doesn't sound appealing to me. Not one bit. But once you get that bye and you're guaranteeing yourself a 5-game series in the NLDS, you've done pretty much all you can be expected to do. The opportunities against the Dodgers in standing, they'll work themselves out. But let's say you get to the end of the Cubs series and you're even with the Dodgers in the records and you have that national series to round out the year. I don't know. I go back and forth because you have that guaranteed week off if you get the 2 seed. Do you then play that a little bit more aggressively because you know you can rest the guys later? I would be more cautious, right? No one's getting hurt in the week between the end of the regular season and the NLDS. Somebody could absolutely get hurt playing out the final 3 games against the Washington Nationals. And it's not like you're handling it scared, but you're just handling it smart. If you go about it that way, I'm not going to get mad at the Phillies for saying, hey, we're comfortable with the 2 seed. I won't, because frankly, every postseason baseball series is difficult, whether you're home or away. And at the end of the day, it's going to be significantly more difficult if you don't have the right players available. So what should the seeding goal be for the Philadelphia Phillies? Top 2 seed, wherever they slot in, but don't chase down anything specific between those top 2 seeds. Go ahead and play out the season, but the focus once you lock up the bye should be the health of your players. And you've been getting healthy. Outside of Austin Hayes, who's still dealing with the kidney infection, everybody else is pretty good. Like JT's come back, Bohm's come back. Harper has been fighting through his elbow and wrist stuff, but okay. Edmundo Sosa has come back. I mean, you've had guys join back up with the team. And frankly, to be as healthy as the Phillies are right now at this point in the season, it's a godsend looking at some of the other teams around baseball. So it might sound like loser mentality, and you can let me know in the comments if it does, not caring about the 1 seed. And I wouldn't say I don't care about the 1 seed. I just don't value the 1 seed over top of what the Philadelphia Phillies have the opportunity to do when it comes to going to the postseason healthy. That's where I stand on the seeding conversation, but they have a ways to go before they worry about, top seed, 2nd seed, resting our players. They got to win the division first. And while it might look like the proverbial 3-foot putt, whew, take care of the Mets tonight. Don't make this interesting. It's the same conversation we had on Friday. Don't waste any time. I brought that up, and then they clinched the division. The postseason. Maybe if I bring that up pertaining to the division, they'll clinch it tonight. That's the thought process, at least. We'll talk about it coming up and what they have in line tonight to clinch the division as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Prize Picks, though, because Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They've got over 5 million active members, and Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just going to be you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll in. I mean, the NFL's going on right now. Do you have something for the late games? Maybe you could sneak that in. Baseball postseason push is rolling. Like, think about it. One Caleb Williams pass here, and there's a great deal going on. One Caleb Williams passing yard can get you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's a great deal. He's the #1 overall pick. Why wouldn't you do that? That's right. Only 1 yard. You hit that today. Get you an automatic win every football weekend in September. You got one more chance to take advantage of that. 4 weeks of free W's. Well, you don't want to miss out on that deal on Prize Picks. All you do is you just set your lineup on player projection stats. 2 to 6 options. Well, there's more options, but you have to pick 2 to 6. It takes like a minute to set your lineup. Just pick more than or less than. It's super simple. It's super easy. If I can figure it out, you can figure it out. And they got a lot of deals like that Caleb Williams deal going on right now that I just told you about. So what are you waiting for? Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, let's take a look at this final game of the series with the Mets. And if the Phillies can lock up the division, real quick before we do that, I do want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your listen every day. Now make your next listen Locked On MLB with Sully, Paul Francis Sullivan, this playoff push. What's happening around baseball, there are some really big matchups, and some that affect the Philadelphia Phillies heavily. So if you want the big-time national overarching perspective, check out Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available on YouTube, available wherever you get your podcasts. Make that your second listen. Tonight, the Phils send Zach Wheeler to the mound. As far as locking up the division, I mean, they should be able to handle it tonight. Wheeler against Tyler McGill. Tyler McGill is a 4.08 ERA, a 1.26 whip. He's got 77 strikeouts at 68 in the third innings pitch. So, I mean, you look at that and say, okay, strikeout risk. That's a guy that could be good against the Phillies. But you have a Cy Young candidate going to the mound in Zach Wheeler. You have a guy that's been dealing. And you know what would be great? You know what would be amazing? This would be one of the great moments of the regular season. Zach Wheeler going out tonight and tossing a gem in primetime on Sunday Night Baseball on the field that he used to pitch on for the team that let him walk because they didn't think he was worth the money. This would be just an absolute dagger in the heart of Mets fans, especially considering they're fighting for the division. Or not the division, for the postseason. I keep bringing up the division. It's so weird to me. It's been 13 years since I could talk about the Phillies as a bona fide threat to win the National League East. Now we get to do it. I got to get used to even saying that, but they haven't done anything yet. They win tonight. They're NL East champions. And I got to imagine Wheeler's going to go out and throw another gem, right? It's kind of what he does every time. And you look at the odds, and the Phillies are minus 145 favorites. According to the ESPN analytics, they're a 58.9% chance to win. You're looking at a great opportunity. The lineup out for tonight, we're looking at Kyle Schwarber leading off, Trey Turner batting second, Bryce Harper third, Alec Boehm cleanup, Nick Castellanos fifth, Bryson Stott sixth, JT Realmuto seventh, Brandon Marsh eighth, Johan Rojas ninth. That's about as good of a lineup as you got right now until Austin Hayes gets back. It's all the starters. It's all the opportunity. I love what the Philadelphia Phillies have put together as far as a lineup, and Rob Thompson and career against Tyler McGill. They have some guys that have done all right against him. Trey Turner is, 1 for 4, batting .250. Bryce Harper, 2 for 10. That's not ideal. The guy that you really want to look at here is JT Realmuto. 4 for 12 against Tyler McGill in his career. .333 batting average, 1 home run, 3 RBIs. You love to see that. Brandon Marsh has also gone yard off of Tyler McGill in his career. So that bottom part of the lineup could produce a little bit tonight if you trust the history. But here's who I think about. I think about Turner. I think about Harper. I think about Schwarber. That big three to lead off. Those are the guys that when you need your team to accomplish something, you go ahead and take care of business based on the backs of your superstars. You get taken care of by the guys that get paid the most money, that get put in the biggest spots, that set the tone for this team. That's how you find a way to the division title tonight. Those guys take care of business. And I think they will. I think they're ready for the moment. I think they're ready to be crowned NL East champs on one of their rivals' fields up there in New York at Citi Field. And frankly, I think this is one of those games where the Phillies go out and they prove that they're the best team in the NL East. It's not a 2-1 victory. It's not a 3-2 victory. I think this is similar to the night where they clinch the postseason and they go out there and they just hang it on the New York Mets. Wheeler's dominant. They score 6 or 7 runs. Strikeouts have been a bit of an issue for them lately, but I think tonight is the night that they wrap it all up, and that would be absolutely amazing to see from the Philadelphia Phillies. All right, that's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. A little bit shorter episode because it's a Sunday. Got other stuff going on for work, but I appreciate you taking the time to join me. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. And I'll talk to you tomorrow, hopefully about the division champion Philadelphia Phillies on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.